routine, everyday actions, thoughts, and emotions of a person denote everyday life or daily existence. A description of everyday life can include commonplace, regular, organic, or usual day-to-day activities. Humans are primarily diurnal, which means they sleep for the majority of the night and are up during the day. Most people have 2 or 3 meals every day. Except for shift employment, the bulk of the working time involves a regular schedule that starts in the morning. It results in the daily rush hours that are undergone by several million. Daily life is a crucial idea in cultural studies and a specialist area of sociology. Some claim that 19th century writers and painters gravitated more toward consciousness and the portrayal of everyday life in their literature and art than in previous works, prompted by capitalism and industrialism's damaging impact on human perception and existence. A large portion of daily activities are automatic and guided by prevailing environmental factors. The need to evaluate human life through self-appraisal. Has anyone ever stopped to think back on his life experiences? If not, one may make plans to do so. People create time to look back on their lives and consider their experiences. People should think about the positive, negative, and ugly aspects of it. Besides, they should deliberate on the best and worst situations that might have happened to them. The biggest lesson is found there. Eventually, they need to spend some time recapitulating what they've learned. Life is a pleasant journey. Usually, people are always moving. They hardly ever stop and think about their lives. Therefore, one should spare some moments to reflect on one's life and experiences. People do it on purpose to benefit from the observations. Otherwise, they run the risk of getting stuck in a loop without making any forward movement. They should allow time to reflect on their performances after each event for days, weeks, months, and year after year. They can choose to be happier or more miserable. Lessons are taught through life. When some scholar explains, the listeners should make it a habit to apply the teachings for their overall improvement. It will put them in a situation to use the knowledge they have gained to effectively empower and enlighten their lives. What accomplishments have they made yesterday, and what goals do they have for today? Life is an exercise of free will, not a chance. Successful people deliberately build their luck factor to thrive in life. Because one might not always have the opportunity to learn from one's mistakes, rather one might draw lessons from the experiences of others. Experience is expensive, but it also serves as a trial before gaining some experience. It is pricier not to evaluate and profit from it, because it is dreadful to pay for knowledge and not understand the lesson, which is frequently the case with many people. One should acquire something meaningful and constructive from every experience, not simply anything. The Life School has various offerings. Some people join them voluntarily, while others get entangled unintentionally. Individuals can learn useful lessons from everyone, but only if they want to, and are prepared to do so. The planet and everything in it is theirs if they can maintain composure when everyone else is losing it and pinning the blame on others. The essence is people have to believe in themselves when everyone else wavers, and if they are willing to pay the price, they will go above and beyond success. They must act within their power by taking charge of their lives. One needs to take stock of, recommit to, and seize command of one's higher strata. The meaning of everyday life from a philosophical perspective. According to the basics of how the majority of human beings are brought up, all are born with the same core values that their parents impart to them. Besides, they have their unique opinions because the gist of these preachings were passed on from one generation to the next. Politics, morals, theology, and work ethics are only a few of the many aspects of these ideas. Rarely does one use logic or rationale to confront these beliefs and dogmas. Humans are exposed to the same concepts and debates so frequently that they become ingrained in who they are before they are mature enough to critically consider them up front. This imaginary belief has inevitably led to the transmission of harmful traits, like racism, from one family member to another. High-quality elements like patriotism and transforming dreams into realities have also been handed over from one generation to the next. In world history and family legacy, only those who had the fortitude to transcend their educational experiences and exceed the beliefs of, essentially, everyone, was the ones who dragged people pursuing greater levels of comprehension and knowledge. All have learned from these noble individuals that the world is not virtually flat, doesn't center on the ground, and that flying through the air would be feasible. These individuals have forced others out of their comfort zones and guided them toward the truth, despite all possible opposition. Some of these obstacles have resulted in their mortality. Although humans have come a long way, there are still huge misconceptions that prevent humanity from progressing toward spiritual enlightenment. The biggest of these still existing misconceptions is regarding how people relate to God and one another. Misquotes and false propaganda have been handed down by the so-called authorities of this planet from generation after generation. Since this wisdom has traveled for a long time, none of the stakeholders may be even conscious of the false information that they are still disseminating. Given that they have stayed such a strong ally to the erroneous data and have maintained through archives for thousands of years, the religious sects may still be aware of the truth. However, the reality is that the Church's use of facts to sway the populace continues to this day. The Word of God has been provided, it is said, though it has always gone to someone else instead of the choicest individual. The common sense of human beings will get carried away by this term, but people are frequently supplied with nonsensical views to cover up the initial bewilderment. Religion in the contemporary era will continue to support the idea that God and man are distinct entities. The argument is that an individual entity is separate from God, regardless of whether it is destined to follow the Almighty to join the kingdom of heaven. The idea is that God is not present in the current situation, and is instead distant from the person in question. The single most divine argument in contemporary times in routine human life is to stick to religious practices, which bring purity and the ability of soul-searching. The evaluation of everyday life through planning. Humans develop plans in the conduct of their daily lives. They schedule activities like mending the house, heading to the grocery store, and having a meal. Moreover, they create long-term goals for their careers, finances, organizations, and holidays. However, despite all the meticulous planning, a small segment of individuals create a life plan, which is a crucial error, as a life plan would include all of those things in addition to self-improvement, interpersonal relationships, and contentment. In all aspects of human life, including personal growth, social interactions, and professions, everyone has the potential to be happy and victorious. But these things do not happen instantly. One must actively look for them and put plans and initiatives into motion that will increase their likelihood, making them more accessible. Everyone should have a life plan based on this philosophy, but it takes time and effort to put everything together, and several people don't have much. However, one shouldn't regret the time one may have spent developing a life plan, because in the end, it's a wise investment that will enable him to reduce stress and time after the life plan is complete. And doesn't anything exist that can lead one to attain pleasure and success worth the time and effort one has put into it? People need to assess the existing situation before they can start creating their life plans. They might consider the reality of their existence, such as their obligations, resources, and aspirations. What aspects of human life bring them joy and misery? How are things going for an individual right now in terms of his job, hobbies, relations, income, health, and anything else he considers essential? For instance, one may value doing good deeds in one's life, and some of their loved ones also place value on the long-term consequences of their actions. People may impose each of these elements a letter grade, with an A ranking representing the highest rating for the ideal life. Afterward, one should determine the complete life grade. Naturally, if one receives a 4.0, one's life is on track, and if one receives anything below par, he will need to focus on certain aspects. The aspects of one's life that one deems successful, or at the very least on the path to success, as well as the sections that one would like to address, should be noted. Allowing oneself to daydream about one's perfect life in each of the crucial phases is a major part of developing one's life plan, relationships, career, and so on. Realities and improbabilities are not so crucial. People should let their emotions and thoughts travel to all the areas they desire their life could be, including their relationships and family bonding, their profession and career, income and retirement, and the positive things they enjoy performing. What would people do with their time and life if money and other factors did not matter? What genuinely excites people? What had individuals desired in the past? What do they enjoy doing, both personally and professionally? People must take note of the skills, knowledge, and abilities they already have that can assist them in the leading to their desired life. One should prepare a list of his personal and professional achievements that he takes pride in. Can any of these qualities help in making the dream a reality? People should evaluate their working habits and way of living. Do they function better as a manager in a work group, independently, or both? When are they at their most productive best? How much time can one devote to working at a high level? One should be better able to develop a strategy that will enable individuals to realize one's perfect life once he has developed a vision of it and assessed its strengths and shortcomings. People should find a way to get management expertise through their careers, or as a volunteer if they lack it. It is now just a question of working toward one's objectives to lead a happy and successful life, because one is now aware of where he desires his life to go and how far he has come along that path. The procedures for evaluating your everyday life. Here's a compelling argument for why people should evaluate their life. If they don't review and revise their goals periodically in light of their purpose or mission statement, they risk spending their entire life ascending the success ladder only to find that it is inclined toward the incorrect wall once they reach the pinnacle. How do individuals determine their top priorities? In what ways does it matter to them? Why should one assess how one's life is going right now? Is everything functioning properly or not? What areas should one choose to adjust, restore, or improve? So many people are unaware that there is an abstract ladder to climb. Everyone wants to live fulfilling their aspirations. Therefore, it is all the more critical to evaluate the prevailing situation when the inner voice prompts one to take action. However, living need not be a politically motivated or routine procedure. People have the freedom to decide for themselves and to follow their preferences and goals. Spending a day or two disconnected from technology allows one to ponder, evaluate, and adapt one's life. Individuals must be completely honest with themselves before it can turn into a voyage of passion and purpose. If people don't occasionally face their life, they are destined to spend the remaining days trapped, doing something they might not find enjoyable. The vast majority of people experience it, and for this reason, everyone will encounter one or more midlife crises, without exception. However, many people make firm resolutions to transform themselves at the beginning of the year, but give up by the coming month. The best moment, though, is whenever one feels like it. One should contemplate, and then evaluate, one's life every day. But unfortunately, several individuals still disregard this most essential procedure. People occasionally need to reevaluate everything in their life. They must be able to determine where their time and effort are best or worst used. They must recognize the signs of advancement and regress. As a result, taking stock of one's existence makes one feel as though time is passing more slowly. One can do more by modifying the route. It puts one on the proper track. People can recall their life's high points and be accurate. Additionally, they internalize and remember the things they've learned. There are 3 ways one can acquire wisdom. First, via thought process, which is the highest form. Second, by emulation, which is the simplest way. And third, through experience, which is the most painful of the lot. Acting without thought is like operating a vehicle without brakes. People move more quickly, yet this frequently has a bad outcome. Most things are beyond human control. Therefore, the ability to pause and evaluate human life is what makes the journey more compelling, meaningful, and pleasant. Therefore, assessments help one have a better understanding of how to anticipate obstacles and behaviors. It aids in making the necessary modifications to what is not functioning. One can proceed with greater vigor on what is working for one in this manner. It also makes sense where one should be in life, as one evaluates one's life. It demonstrates if people are on the right path. However, most individuals never pursue their true destiny, mission, or purpose. But even if they did, it wouldn't change the world they live in. Without a doubt, there would be more creativity, discoveries, fixes, and resolution of problems. So every moment people hear that inner voice telling them it's time to reassess their life, they need to stop, think, wonder, reflect, and reevaluate. If people master this art, their lives will be far more fulfilling and joyful than if they merely go through the motions, wondering what may have been. One must live that life. Finding realistic and upbeat reframes is one of the most crucial abilities to develop if one wants to be happy. Events, circumstances, and happenings that do not necessarily make an individual happy or unhappy are called reframes. Reframes are crucial for leading a happy life, and the caliber of reframes determines the value of one's life. Events always occur. As a result, people use their brains to analyze their subjective or individual thoughts about that specific occurrence, which results in an emotional response. If one evaluates the incident or reinterprets it neutrally, he won't experience any emotional reactions. However, if people evaluate the event or reframe it negatively, they will experience melancholy, dissatisfaction, frustration, anger, impatience, and other unpleasant emotional traits. The same holds, though, whether people assess or reframe an experience in a positive light. It is an individual method of considering or judging an event that develops or causes people's emotional reactions when they contemplate something as favorable. This emotional reaction causes or stimulates individual happiness, joy, satisfaction, relief, or enjoyment. It is one piece of advice to assist anyone in finding contentment. For this reason, it's entirely up to individuals to choose how they will appraise an occurrence. Humans continually evaluate things, whether consciously or with the least awareness, because it is their first response to them. If individuals have an incorrect opinion of something, they should strive to change it on a positive note. One's ability to be joyful will grow as a result, and one will feel better knowing that the event has made him happy. A happy existence may lead to master the art of viewing things optimistically. These kinds of characters always look for positive perspectives on situations, and are grateful for everything that happens to them. Even when it's challenging, one should consider thinking positively, instead of being impatient or complacent. They will start to feel happier right away, knowing that it's a good thing for them at this moment. One may experience joy sooner than one might expect if one evaluates circumstances positively. People won't be able to find happiness in their life if they choose to remain pessimistic. It's time to begin leading a happy and fulfilling life. An everyday life evaluation may appear to be only a sequence of questions and responses. However, once people get to the replies, they can find it challenging to express their thoughts honestly. If the relationship is still young, people may not yet have a complete understanding of one another, leading to an incorrect assessment. Given that people don't know one another in the community, they might also wish to consider that their current bonding is excellent and can change the assessment appropriately. Even if people have been together for a long time and thoroughly understand one another, they may choose to ignore the flaws and form a wrong opinion. One needs to make sure one is impartial and self-reliant to build a secure and successful relationship with the family, neighbors, and society.